Last week we saw the current government coalition in Italy come out with the proposed budget. The budget proposed for a 2.4% deficit, which was higher than the market anticipated, although still below the 3% cap imposed by the ECB. The market, however, did not take this news very positively. We saw Italian government bond spread widened by about 30 basis points on the day. That's about 10%. The Italian banks was also sold off quite aggressively on the day. We saw Intesa down by 10% and UniCredit down by 10% as well. Practically speaking, the impact on Italian banks comes through in higher funding costs. And then also the wider government bond spreads means a lower valuation on Italian government bonds, which the Italian banks, being very large holders of Italian government bonds, will have to take a charge through either their profit and loss statement or directly against equity. But be that as it may, it will have a negative impact on the level of capitalization of the Italian banks. For us, however, practically the bigger concern is on the impact on non-performing loans. Now, if you cast your mind back, you'll remember that Italian banks have got substantial non-performing loans. That's a legacy from the previous downturn, 2011, and even before that, 2008 crisis. So now you've got the situation where you've got old non-performing loans sitting on the books that the Italian banks have been quite successful in unwinding over the last 2 or 3 years. But if you start seeing higher funding costs coming through for Italian firms, that will translate into new non-performing loan formation picking up. So you've got the situation with old non-performing loans sitting on the book and new non-performing loans coming through as well, which should lead to higher credit impairment charges, which will reduce the Italian bank's profitability, but also possibly capital adequacy concerns coming to the fore. Having said that, we do believe that Intesa and UniCredit are quite well positioned to weather the storm much better than the rest of the Italian banking sector, the smaller Italian banks. But UniCredit and Intesa is definitely not completely in the clear, and relative to other European banks, there's definitely a need for a risk premium to be applied in the valuation of UniCredit and Intesa.